So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to thank God for giving us this opportunity today to honor one of our heroes, one of our leaders who showed us who Africans are, who showed us the way, who showed us which way we should take and what we should do to develop and to change this continent. Showed us the spirit of patriotism, showed us the spirit of Africanism. And today we're here honoring his legacy and thanking you, God, for giving him to us, for the life that he lived. Because today we're here, we're talking, our mission, our vision is based on what he showed us that it is possible. So we pray for this conversation. We still pray for the comfort of the people of Tanzania, the family, and the people of Africa as well. As we keep sharing and talking, I pray that we'll take those good things that we have seen, that we have heard, and we'll apply in our daily lives so that we may transform this continent for better and for good. I pray all the things in your name. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, without wasting time, I'm going to welcome my brother, Boniface Elfez, in our session. Brother.
Thank you, brother.
Welcome to the family.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so my last name is Kanyathare, and it's actually the one I usually love to use because that is non-colonial.
Yes. I love Kanyathare. I think that's how I'll call you, Kanyathare.
Yes.
It's good to have you, brother.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I would like to, let's say, give a word of apology up front, because at some point in our discussion, I might get a little bit emotional. There are things that as humans we cannot control. And when that happens, please bear with me. Yes. Yeah. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. I know your schedule is busy and you have many initiatives that you're trying to do and that you're trying to accomplish for our people, trying to actually bring light so that the world understands the real truth about Africa and, awakening us, the young people, awakening the older generation as well to know the things that are necessary for us to do as Africans to move forward. So, yeah, I would like to start this by really thanking you, because the work you are doing is very noble. It's the work that very few people can do, because it puts you in the spotlight, and most of the time it's not on the positive side of the spotlight, because you are not actually perpetrating the narrative that the powers that be wants to be perpetrated. So what you are doing is also a sacrifice, and I would love to really thank you for that, and hope that God, who created us, who brought us in this world with a purpose, will continue to actually shed you. He will continue to guide you and put his protection with you, brother. Thank you very much for that.
Amen. Amen, my brother. I really appreciate that, man. You're gonna have to text me your name in the comment section right here in the private chat, because I need to call that name, man. And I keep forgetting that African name. But I appreciate my brother for everything that you said, and I honor you for being here. What people do not know is that we started to talk for almost a year now, if it is not a year already. We've started to, you reached out to me and we started to talk one step at a time. You constantly emphasize on having this conversation, and we did not really get that, proper time to do it, but we have had private calls and private messages to just see and to hear your initiative and everything that you do. So I appreciate you, first of all, for your patience. And also, I appreciate you for coming here today, to have this conversation about, one of the great presidents and one of the great leaders Africa ever had in the continent. So, my brother, I appreciate you. I thank you, and I bless you, and I thank you for everything you do. You do behind the scene and here on the scene, for our continent and for our people. So, for those who do not know you, before we begin, just a little bit of summary of who you are and whatever that you're comfortable to share with. It's good. And then we're going to jump right away to talk about, this great leader.
Thank you. I am Boniface Elfas Kanyathare, a Tanzanian, born in the country, did all my lower levels of education in the country, started working in the country as a tutorial assistant at one of our universities, actually called Dar es Salaam Institute of Technology. Then I came to study in Finland. I have also went to study in Russia some years back. There's a long story back then, but let me just make this short.
Yes.
So came to Finland to do my master's during the same time when Magufuli was being elected, when actually 2015, when the elections were actually taking place. And then immediately after that, finished my master's, went back home a little bit, connected, and actually managed to finalize my PhD in 2018. And then decided straight away going back home, because I thought that that would be actually the best thing to do regarding the kind of leadership that we had in the country. So went back there and tried to contribute in the ways that I thought were good to contribute to the development and advancement of our country. And then, of course, what happened. I came back to Finland in 2021. Of course, I will say the truth. I came back in 2021. It's not that I loved it to come back to Finland. I came back after my employment was terminated. And my employment was basically terminated because I was challenging the powers that be. Because as a young African, I believe that we are brought in this world to change things, to make things better for our coming generations. And getting all the exposure, you know, I studied in Russia, I studied in Finland here, went to Thailand also for a couple of months, stayed there, looking at how things are going on in the world, how people are doing things to change their countries. And I wouldn't just go back home and just sit, do the usual thing that people were doing. So I really wanted to see massive changes at the place where I was working. And actually it led to a conflict with the management, and the management decided to get rid of me, take care of me, the way they thought was good for them. Yeah, but I thank God I'm here. And even now, of course, I came to Finland to do my postdoc, which ended, but now I'm a little bit, all of my initiatives are in entrepreneurship. And one of the products we are developing is actually for secondary school students in Tanzania and in Africa in STEM subjects. So we are developing physical equipment that will enable our young people to actually study STEM subjects like physics, subjects like mathematics, computers in a more interactive way. So all the initiatives that I have and that I'm working with now are dedicated towards our country and our continent. So in short, that is who I am.
Brother, I love it so much. And I want to tell you this, that this is just the beginning of our conversation. But we're going to come back to talk about those initiatives that you're doing, because I know you shared with me. It's very impressive. And we're just going to talk more about that, you know, in the coming days or months or weeks. You know, it will definitely happen, and it's gonna be incredible. But it's you know, it is strange that we are living in the community whereby you know, authorities don't want to be challenged. I always say this, that when you challenge, when you ask, you seem like you are disrespecting. When you want to find the solution, why, or you want to question like why this has been done that way, you seem like you're not, you don't really respect, because they will call you young, they'll call you're amateur, why, you know, they just want you to go ahead and to do it. And it's very strange. And I think this is one of the reasons why we are in a position where we are, because we don't welcome constructive criticism. We need that. We need to build one another, and we need, you know, we need to change things. We can't just keep working the same way it used to be. Sometimes, yeah, it feels like safe to, you know, to get away, at least, you know, even to be pushed away, not to be able, you know, to be yourself. And you know, it's very sad. I think that's very, you know, sad story. And perhaps, you know, we'll go deep on that some other time. But to know the details of this. But I think, what do you think about even, you think this is the big problem that we have right now in the continent?
Yeah, we really have a problem of, you know, when you talk about our continent, and people are mixing respect with fear. So it's like we are raised in these societies whereby you know, you don't have to question anything. You are not supposed to question anything. If you question anything, or if you propose anything that is different from the official narrative or the narrative of the leader. So, of course, here I'll give an example. I'm not here talking, I'm not talking mostly about the government, but the reality is that the same mindset is all across, because
Yes.
I was at one of the leading higher learning institutions where you think that, you know, let's say academicians are supposed to be people whose minds are free, you know. We should be able to contest upon ideas, you know.
Yeah.
So if my idea is not good, prove to me that what you are talking about is not right or is wrong through ideas.
Yes.
But so the challenge that we have is that you are always just supposed to follow the narrative. You are supposed to follow the people who are, let's say, if you have leaders at the university, for example, or in the government side, you're just supposed to follow what they say. But sometimes what they say is wrong. Sometimes they have lack of exposure as well. Sometimes they have lack of, you know, extra ways or knowledge about how to do things. I don't claim that, okay, I'm super intelligent, I know everything. No, but coming together, we need to bring our ideas together and ponder upon these ideas and see what is good, what is not good. But immediately it's like they discredit you just because you are a young person. For example, you're not older than them. So you are a young guy, you know, you're just coming from studying abroad. So what can you tell? You think here is abroad, here is not abroad. So the things that are done here are just there. But I say, no, those guys abroad, they are just people like us. There's no any magic. There's nothing special in them that is not in us. But we have to come to a stage of understanding that we have to bring our ideas together. The older generation together with the younger generation, talk to each other, because, you know, we have a long way to go. A person like me and you, we still have a long way to go. And for me, it really doesn't make sense getting all this exposure, coming outside, studying outside, and then going back home and doing the same things the same way. And people will tell you, why do you bother about that? Are you not getting your salary? So the main thing is just getting my salary. I said, no, I didn't come back here just for the salary. It can't just end with my salary in my pocket. No, I believe that God did bless me in this position to actually impact many more lives. It can't only be because of me. Because you talk about a university, for example, it's a place where millions of young Tanzanians who are coming from low background and even poor families come to. It's a place where we are supposed to equip them. It's a space where we are supposed to change their mindset positively, to equip them with, you know, the knowledge and the skills that they need actually to further their lives and also affect and impact our countries in a positive way. But then if you are at a center like that, and then things are just happening the same way, I'll give you just a simple example. At this age, you can teach, let's say, electronics and telecommunications engineering without a computer. How can you do that? You know, you're supposed to teach a student computer programming without having computers. You know, you are supposed to write codes on the board. They're supposed to claim this code and reproduce it in the exam. In today's world, who will actually hire a student because they have crammed some codes in their head and they can reproduce in the paper? People want to see these students solving challenges in the real world, you see. So so that is one of the challenges that we have. It's a really big challenge that is actually impacting our country and even our continent.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, my brother. You know, and I think this is bringing us to our conversation of today. That was just a building up of what we want to talk about, my brother Kanyatare. Is that today, 3 years ago today, you know, the late president of Tanzania, John Paul Magufuli, died, and it came as a shock. I clearly remember, you know, when, you know, where I was at that day when I was getting this news. I remember I was still in Korea, and I went to one of the TV stations in the country. I was having an interview, and I was preparing for that interview. That's when I received a message from one of my friends, and I lost everything. I was not able to do it because I was a big fan of him. You know, I was always proud. You know, that was the time that, you know, if you live outside of the country and you are Tanzanian, like, you know, you walk like this. My president is, JPM. That's my president. You know what I'm saying? Like that was one of the few times that the celebrity in the country, it was not a musician. It was not anybody else but a leader. You know, we had this change of leadership and the celebrity. You know, back in the days, you had our forefathers. You know, they were the most known people in the country, popular people. Right now, you have musicians and entertainers, people who, you know, they have constantly scandal. Today, they sleep with that person. Tomorrow, they have kids. Those are people that right now they're popular in our countries. Right? When you say, who is the most famous person in your country? Say, hey, is that musician? Oh, that. And they're not really good role models for the generation to come and our kids right now. But it was one of the few moments that the most popular person in the country, it was actually the president, the leader, something that, you know, did not happen for such a long time. So I was having that pride, and then getting this news, it destroyed me. And first thing, I want to know, where were you at when you got this news? And then the second thing, we can jump right to talk about who Magufuli was. Just him as a person, even before his leadership, who he was. Yeah.
Thank you, brother. I got the news. I was in the country. I was in Tanzania on that day and that date.
Yeah.
I was actually following through, because when he started, we knew that something was kind of a little bit strange with him, because he usually would use to kind of go public in many events and occasions where he would, let's say, go to different parts of the country, or even when he was in Dar es Salaam, you'll see him at several events. But then some time passed, and we were asking ourselves, and I was actually trying to follow through with some of my friends who were working in the government, and we were trying to follow through that it seems like something is not right, because this person has not been seen for some time now. And people like me who actually a little bit knew what Magufuli was doing, and the resistance that he was going through. In my heart, I knew that at some point, God forbid, something bad might happen. And during that time, we were in a state where we were not clear about what was going on. Of course, we were getting some information from the government that, oh, he's there, he's just doing fine, and so on. But we were worried. A person like me was very much worried. And on that day, what happened, I was asleep at night, and I got a phone call from my sister. There is a sister of mine who is in Kigamboni, Dar es Salaam, who is a diehard Magufuli fan. She started her small business when Magufuli was the president. You remember when he actually officiated that you can just, you can just pay 20,000 Tanzanian shillings and you have this ID. When you have this ID, no one will disturb you. You can do your businesses. So she was having a butchery business, a very small business. But within the years of Magufuli, she managed to make it actually a very good business that was growing, and it's of course still there to date. So she knew the impact of Magufuli, especially for these poor families, especially for these people who are coming from very low background, what he did to us, what he did to Machingas, what he did to Mama Lisha, and so on and so forth. So she's the one who called me. And so when I picked up the phone, she was crying. And she told me, Magufuli is no longer with us. Yeah, so I actually I was also in Kigamboni at the same time. I actually waked up that night. I didn't sleep. I actually drove my car from my place to her place. And we basically started staring on the TV till morning. So it was around 2 a.m. We stayed awake till morning, and we were basically just crying. We were trying to console each other and comfort each other, but we were all the time crying.
Yeah.
And it was really a very sad and a very dark day for me personally. The very first time when, let's say, I would remember a leader who caused me to a little bit cry, the first time was Mwalimu Nyerere. Mwalimu Nyerere died when I was a student at Buru Boys Technical Secondary School. That was in 2000, yeah, from 1999 to 2002, something around that time. And it's the first time when I cried when we had a leader who passed away. And I cried basically, you know, it was basically, you feel this attachment to a leader based on what you have heard people saying about this leader. So I would hear my grandfather talking about Mwalimu Nyerere, and also after starting studies, I a little bit understood what he was doing and the person he was. And I also managed to have a chance to visit his village in Butiama one time. I went there. I went to my aunt, and I went there helping my aunt to sell vitumbua at Gulio. We call that Gulio, which is actually in English you call it a market on Sundays at Butiama. And I saw the place where Mwalimu came from, and I really understood that this was a true leader, because if you look at the place he was coming from, it was not a fancy place, man. It was just a normal place like everybody else. So the same thing now came when Magufuli passed away. It was really tough for me. I really cried. I mourned I'm still mourning to date. I still haven't reconciled with myself that he's really gone. I still mourn even to date, because you have asked a question about who Magufuli was even before he became a leader that we knew, before he became the president of Tanzania. Of course, we knew Magufuli in Tanzania when he was actually a minister. So I knew Magufuli when Benjamin Mkapa actually gave him a position as one of the ministers in infrastructure. That is where we knew about Magufuli, because the work that he did, you know, infrastructure field is one of the fields which are usually very corrupt. And usually less is done. So it's one of the ministries which actually have a huge budget, but usually very less tangible things are done, because usually sometimes these funds, people just find their deals and they go in the pockets. But during that time, Magufuli did a lot with the roads. So all across the country, because I remember when I was doing my secondary education, I did my O-levels in Mwanza, and then I did my A-levels in Moshi, Kilimanjaro, at Old Moshi Secondary School. And during that time, the roads within the country were not very good. So we would take a bus from, let's say, from Mwanza going to Dar es Salaam. We'll have to pass through Kenya. We'll have to go through Nairobi to go to Dar es Salaam. So there were these buses like Taufik, Takrim. Those were buses that were going that route. The roads were not very good. But then things changed during Magufuli's leadership in the ministry, and actually we managed to have very many roads. And he was someone who was very steadfast. He was someone who was committed. He was someone who was following through everything. He's someone who had even statistics in his head. You will wake him up and he'll start giving you the statistics of the roads and what is happening. And
like all the roads in Tanzania, he will mention one after another one. The kilometers, how long is it? He will name the name of the places, where it starts, where it ends, everything. He was very detailed oriented guy.
Yes. And when he was a minister, actually, there are points when he was even not in very good terms, sometimes even with the president. During that time, the president was Jakaya Kikwete. Sometimes he was not even in very good terms with the president, because he will not allow people who had power in the country, especially people who are rich. You know, people who are rich in many of our countries, they usually have the power in our countries even to control our political leaders sometimes. But Magufuli would challenge even these guys who had money. For example, I remember there are times when there was a certain building that was supposed to be actually destroyed in a way to allow the roads to pass. These were challenges, very big challenges, because some of these buildings were owned with people in power and with money. And we were sometimes even going against the wishes of the president in the country sometimes, just to make sure that he was committed to what he decided and what he saw that this is the good thing for the country. And he was actually providing an example, because You cannot only say this is right when it's done to local people and poor people who's in places where a road is passing. But if it comes to a person who has a lot of money, then because that is his house or his building, that cannot be done. So he was someone who was, from the very beginning, he hated double standard. And I think one reason why he hated double standard, Magufuli came from a very local, normal family. So he knew what, when you talk about poverty, he knew what poverty was all about. You know, he did the jobs like selling milk when he was young. He did these jobs like the ones that matching as we are doing. So he really knew when it comes to poverty, what poverty was really about. The struggles of a poor family and a low background family of Tanzanians, he knew what that was. That's why when he got into leadership, he did what he did, because he had that in his heart.
Yeah.
He had the goodwill about improving the livelihoods of normal Tanzanians in his heart. And that is what he was committed to. So knowing him before becoming the president, that is how we knew him. We knew him that whenever you'd put him in whichever ministry you'll give him. You remember there was another ministry, it was, I think, Ministry for Fisheries. Yes, where there was a lot of illegal fishing. And it's during that time where actually they were actually banning a lot of fish nets, which were not, you know, the ones that were not good, which were actually even taking the very, very small fish in our lakes.
Yeah.
Anywhere you would put him, he will shine, because he will make sure the job is done. He will make sure the job is done.
This guy, he knew the number of fishes in Tanzania. He knew the number of fishes in the Lake Victoria. This guy, he will name the number. He'll be like, in our Victoria Lake, we have this number. In Nyasa Lake, we have this number. This guy, he was cleaning everything. When you give him the ministry, he is cleaning everything. Like this guy, he was shining. So the president, actually, I believe at that time it was the time of Jakaya Kikwete. I believe there was a time that he just wanted to clean other departments. So, you know, he took him out from the infrastructure, he put him in the roads, and then he took him out, he put him in fishing. This guy, he was just cleaning everything, everywhere he went, and he did not care. This guy is just straight. He did not compromise. He don't have double standard. If it is no, it is no for anybody and everyone. If it is yes, yes for anybody and for everybody. This guy, he was somebody that people, actually even people in the country, believe that, okay, this guy, he cannot be a president, but he can be a prime minister. He can be that, because the work he does would need someone who really works like this. If you have a prime minister work like this, we need someone who does like so. A lot of people, they really love who he was, because you say something very important that he has been in the government for a long time. But you cannot put him in the category of politicians, because we know when you talk about politicians, we talk about people who are concerned about the next election. But when you talk about leaders, people are concerned about the next generation. This guy, ever since he got into the regime from MP, minister, this guy was a different kind of politician. He was actually a true politician, someone who don't just speak, but actually does. And most of his decision, most of his things that he did, it was very controversial, because it was something that, you know, you will not believe that a leader would do it, but he'll go ahead and do it. You will not believe that a leader will say it, but you go ahead and say it. And you said something very important, that this is where he came from. He came from a low background family, so he understood what poverty really means. And he also knew, because he was in the government for a long time, he knew that the country is actually rich. He knew that, and he for all these years, he saw what was going wrong. He saw why the country is moving backward. He saw everything, and he had a vision. He already had a vision for a country where he wanted to be. And it's not like something that you sleep and then you have this vision from heaven. No. It's just that, okay, I think we need to cut down some budgets. We need to reduce the ministers. You know, we need to make sure to handle all this expenditure, and we need to take this money to put it there in education. You take this to put in infrastructure. You take this. He already knew. So we can go ahead right now. Him becoming a president. You know, because he was a president basically for only 5 years. When he came to the president, you know, what was the very first thing that he started to do? and people were still waiting to see when he's going to mess things up. But this is the
Yes.
guy that from the very first day in the office to the final day he leaves, it was like the new day. It was like
Yes.
that 100 days of the president.
Yes.
5 years that he was a president. So let's talk a
Yes.
little bit about his presidents, what he did, what he believed on, and what he stood for. And you know, as you start that, I want to appreciate everybody who is joining. We have a lot of people actually watching us. We have people from X, more than 65 people joining us from X there. We have people on YouTube. We have people on TikTok. We have people on Instagram. All over the place are joining us. Let us know where you're watching from. Copy this link, share with somebody, like, subscribe. You can use super chat, super thanks, super sticker. You can join membership, Patreon, PayPal, whatever you can to support what we're doing. My brother, go ahead.
Thank you, brother. So it was in 2015, basically it was the end of 2015 when the elections were done. And yeah, so this is also to say that the reality, let me be blunt here. The reality is not that the people, the political class really wanted Magufuli to be the president. No. They didn't want Magufuli to be the president. But something happened, and
why do you think that was the case? Why do you think
okay,
the political class did not want him to become a president? On your thoughts?
My thoughts are that the political elites and the political class, they need a person to be in the presidency, a person they can control.
Oh, wow.
A person they can control. And actually, to tell you the truth, this is not only the political elite of our countries, because of course the political elites in our countries are a replica of the powers that be in the world.
Yeah.
They want people in power, people that they can control. And this is actually why Africa is in this vicious cycle, because the people who keep getting to the top of our leadership are people who can be controlled, are people who can be intimidated, are people who can be blackmailed, people have their files, people have their corrupt dealings, and so on and so forth, that can be used against them when they are in power to make sure that they follow what the powers that be wants. So in the country, the political elites, reality to say the truth, they didn't want him to win. They didn't want him to become the president. It was even shocking for them. But what happened, it's like, you know, there was this kind of a wave which for them it was difficult. How can we handle this? How can we reconcile this? Of course, one thing that also happened was, you remember the late Edward Lowassa going to Chadema in a way during that time. That also poses, it posed a very kind of challenging situation for the elites, because they really needed someone who was strong
to win,
to be able to take care of this situation. And of course, you will talk about people like Membe and so on and so forth, but no matter what happens, any Tanzanian you will talk to, if you talk about Magufuli, they knew that this was a person who would get things done. You see? So what comes to my mind is that when elections were happening, one thing I was not sure about as a Tanzanian, I knew that Magufuli was someone who was a man of his words. But the challenge that I was thinking about the political elites and class and asking myself, will he be able to go against this political elite class and do things for the interest of our people? Or will he be, you know, will he be muzzles around? Will he be, you know, directed and towards a certain direction to do things that these guys want? So I was uncertain about that, because we have seen, sometimes you have seen our political system, even now as we talk, we speak, we have even the so-called opposition in our countries. But you see, at the end of the day, they get in, and they start furthering their own agendas. They really don't care about the people. So our people just become a scapegoat that they can use to climb the ladder, but they don't really care about the people. They care about what goes to them and their interests. So I was not sure that is he going to really follow through? Because also at the same time, I knew that the forces against what he would try to do were too much, not only from within, but also from without. So there were forces inside the country which would try to oppose what he wanted to do. But there were also forces outside the country which would oppose 100% what he wanted to do. So the elections went on, and then he won. After winning that election, of course, many people have their different opinions of what happened. To me, he won. After winning that election,
people loved him. Come on, brother. People loved him. People knew who he was, and common mwananchi, the people who are actually poor, because he was the president for the poor, they loved him. Full stop. Like what he said is what you. I mean, he was basically just, you know, it was campaigning, you know, about all this stuff, but people already knew that this is the guy who works. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they wanted, because at that time the country was not in a good position. And I think that's why, you know, he had to be, you know, the one to run, because if it was somebody else, if it was anybody else, Loasa from the opposition party was going to win. But it had to be him. Anyways, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, so when the elections ended and he actually got into office, he started, you know, this is one thing that I really loved about Magufuli. Forget about everything else. To me, Magufuli was the champion of mindset transformation for us Africans. Mindset transformation. That is one key thing for me, because our people have been brainwashed for a very long time. Systemic manipulation and brainwashing of our societies, African people, for a very long time has taken place. And it's actually one thing that has put us where we are to date. And that's why even when you talk to many of our brothers and sisters, when they look at our European, let's say, I'll call them our European brothers and sisters as well, because I believe they are also out of God. So God brought them in this world as well. But when they look at them, they think of them like, you know, they are very kind of this distinct group of people, which is very different from us. It's like they are on a completely different level, and maybe their brains are super intelligent as compared to ours. So one thing I really loved about Magufuli is that he really helped to change our mindset. So, you know, he started saying things. He started mentioning about the things he wanted to do. He was not just doing them in secrecy, because other people will say, okay, as a general of the army, you know, you have to do things in secrecy and so on. But he was not subscribing to that. So he was saying, because he knew part of the problem was actually lack of knowledge for us, lack of understanding, and lack of knowledge about how things are happening in the world. So he started talking about these things. And when I heard him talking about, you know, these different contracts, mining contracts, these contracts that have been signed for many years with these multinational corporations and companies, I knew that this is going to be a hard, really, this is a rock, not a bread. He's going to try to chew and swallow this, but this is a rock, not a bread, because these multinational companies are sometimes connected to the Western powers, Western governments, Western elites, and so on and so forth. And the moment you talk about these kind of things to deal with mining and so on and so forth, it means you are directly touching the interests of the powers that be.
Absolutely.
And knowing the history of Africa, you know that, of course, many coups has taken place in the past, many assassinations, people like Sankara, people like PLO, people like Lumumba, and so on and so forth. Many assassinations took place, many overthrow of many governments took place. Basically, when we had the leaders who really had the best interest of our countries in their hearts, these leaders would not survive, because sometimes the elites of the West And I want this to be understood well. I don't mean that every person from the West is an elite or every person from the West is bad. They are just
Yep.
average, normal Westerners who are just actually very nice people who don't want to do any harm to Africa, and who actually sometimes don't even know what is happening, you know, in our country. So
100%.
These powers, when you touch these kind of things, like let's say minerals, you are directly touching their interests. And when you touch their interests, these people have even some of their intelligent agencies or agents embedded sometimes in our systems. Because of course, if you follow through history, this is not only my own fabrication, this is follow through the history. All the assassination that took place in our countries, they took place from people within, not from people outside. It was, they were using people, mostly using people within. There are few cases where, of course, assassination was done, let's say, of people like Patrice Lumumba, which was done by maybe straight powers from outside. But many of these, they were using some of their implants within our systems.
Was there as well at that time,
So so they have their people. They sometimes it's like you see a fellow black person like you without knowing that they are working for the interest of the other people, not working really for the interest of a black person, you see. And so I realized, looking at that, I thought that, oh, this is really going to be tough, because, you know, I told you again, I lived in Russia, I've lived in Finland, I've lived in Thailand. So kind of in a way, in my mind, I was also a very good student of geopolitics. So I can compare the eastern part and the west, and, you know, the Cold War and all the stuff. And also I did a part of my studies at a university in Russia called the university. It's called actually People's Friendship University of Russia, which was given the name of Patrice Lumumba, because it's one university in Russia where many of the freedom fighters, actually many African people who took part in freedom fighting, actually studied. So that university today is actually the main part where many people from Africa go to study in Russia. So I studied in that place as well. And so that also gave me some sort of significance. So I would try to find out what went through and so on and so forth. So I knew that what Magufuli was trying to touch was something that was very difficult to achieve. So I was waiting in the back of my mind. I said, okay, he said it. Let's see. Is he really going to follow through his words? I knew he was a man of his words, but knowing the resistance around him, I knew it was really very difficult. And I knew that if he was going to follow through, that meant that he had given his life 100% completely for the well-being of our people, because he also knows that when you touch these powers, what might happen to you. So that's what happened. But then I started seeing these things. You know, you remember the different meetings of our different agencies in the country dealing with minerals, dealing with roads, all the contracts, how things started changing. You know, he actually got some delegations to actually look through these mineral contracts and very difficult contracts. And actually he started turning things around. And I said, wow, I wouldn't believe it. But then I started believing because I saw it happening. So the doubts that I had in my mind went away in a way.
I think one of the things that he showed is that I think I think one of the biggest problems that we do, us as people, is assumption that we are, even these so-called power, I know sometimes we put them even above God. You know what I'm saying? And we assume that they are untouchable. We assume that we cannot dare to change anything because they will stand up and they will stop us. You know, faith is a very interesting thing. If you believe, it's going to happen. But if you believe that you are called to bring about change and nobody is going to stop, no matter what, change is going to happen. Whether you are there or you are not there, then you know that my life is not going to stand in the way of stopping this. And you know that there is no one beyond God, above God. I've been called. I'm here where I am to bring about change, and I am going to be faithful to that call until the end. And he knew that. That's why one of his first thing that he always emphasized is that put God first above everything. He said that every single time he spoke, he said that because he knew that God has placed me here. Also, he knew that they did not. He knew that he came there by coincidence. He became, and it's not really coincidence. For me, I would say that it was God's plan at that time that he was supposed to be there. He was supposed to be a leader in Africa, right? So he knew that, and he knew that he's dealing everything that he did. Why constantly he say that I am the president of the poor? What about the rich people? Why he keep emphasizing the president of the poor? Because he knew that the gap between the poor and the rich is too big. It's too hard. I remember when they were building these stands, they were building a lot of things, JPM stand, the bus Magufuli, something. He was actually talking to the minister at that time, I think it was Jaffo. He was telling him that, okay, if you're going to build a stand, and they were saying that they build as well hotel and everything. He said, if you're going to build luxury hotel, you must build the low hotel as well. The hotel that people, they'll pay $10 a day. He said, if you're building luxury, you also have to build the low at the same place. Because they say all these luxury and expensive hotels, how, you know, okay, people with money, they can stay there. But what about my people who don't have nothing? So he always thought about these people in the low income. And he knew that, okay, in order for me to bring back the money, to bring back the economy, to change their lives, I need to bring this gap. I need to reduce this gap that is here. I need to push it down. I need to tax these people. I need to make sure that they're taxing very correctly for my people. I mean, to have that money, to do some infrastructure, to start some programs that really my people will benefit out of it. That's why people loved him to death. You know, you would never see that, something like that. Life was not easy at that time because you can only get money if you work hard, not just work hard, but people loved him because he was there for them.
Yes, brother, you're absolutely right, and that is one thing that he actually did. So one thing he brought back in our government offices was, you know, working. So the culture of work and the culture of responsibility, you know. Even now, of course, after years passed, people are saying some of the things are kind of, in a way, going back to the way they were and so on and so forth. During his time, you go to a government's office, man, you'll get service. You know, there's this problem where people who are in our government offices, people who are actually paid through our taxes, most of the time, when they look at the common man and woman giving them services, like they're giving them a favor. It's like they're favoring them. It's like you don't deserve. I'm just helping you, poor thing. You know, I'm helping you. But these are people who are actually using everything that, you know, the salaries that they are being paid are our taxpayers' salaries, are the salaries that are coming just, you know, from these small businesses and so on and so forth. And during his time, you know, there was this saying in Tanzania that utanijua mimi nani, you'll know who I am. Do you know who I am? There was that saying, you know, wherever you go, people, you know, it's like anyone who had any position, you know, can just do anything to you just because you are coming from a low background family or you are poor and so on and so forth. During his time, that term was gone because everybody knew if you try to do anything like that to a normal person and then that information got somewhere, you'll be in big trouble. So he was not just talking about these things. He was not just changing our mindset in terms of saying, but he was really doing tangible things. So in terms of mindset, in terms of culture of work, he really brought that back in many of our offices. Of course, many people say that, of course, people were working because of fear. Yeah, you can say whatever you want, fear and so on, but you have to start somewhere, because if you have been in a country where things have been done, you know, it's just like easy come, easy go, you know, there's laziness and laziness, you know, you have to find a way to start changing things. So he's changed things the way he started, you know, of course, he started in a way where, of course, some sort of fear, but what do you need? Because if people are paid and they can't do what they're supposed to do while they are taking the money of the poor person, if it requires fear to start from there, let's give them fear.
And let me tell you this, my brother. If you're working out of fear, that is not his problem. Exactly. That is your problem. Because for him, he was doing his job. No, exactly. Him, he was just doing his job. But we never get used to see somebody really giving everything, somebody don't sleep, somebody working 24/7, and somebody dedicate everything he had, you know, to the betterment of the country. We never get used to see that. So right now, this guy come, you make mistake once, there's no second chance, you're out. You make mistake once, you're not given warning, you are out. And then people say that, oh, you are doing under fear because you're lazy. Because you lazy people. You lazy people, you don't want to do your job. You want to do, you provide service as if you're giving a service to somebody. We need to pay for the service that you are paid to actually give to us freely. Things were getting out of control. And that's how it's supposed to be. This is not even people that say, oh, he was Mkali. I don't even know how to say Mkali in English. Let me tell you this. You see someone is Mkali if you're not doing what you're supposed to do. If you, because you have job description, okay, I've chosen you to become a prime minister, to become this, you know, you are responsible for what you have to do. You need to work for the people. So those people who are scared, that, oh, well, Fred, what is going to, no. If you do your damn work, you don't have a reason to be afraid. And for him, he just wants you to work for your people. That's it. You know, you don't want to follow whatever. No. Work for the people. I want to see my people living a better life. I want to see things moving forward. And it's crazy that one man with that philosophy and that dedication, he made it to change the entire country. Imagine go to public office. If it is school, if it is hospital, just in your village. But people will work like their life depend on it, because one man, he actually appointed people who have that spirit as well, and he held them accountable. And that spirit, he went everywhere. Imagine that spirit captured even me when I was in another country and I started to do this. It captured me. I was not even in the country, outside of the country. Also, it captured a lot of African descendants. That was the time that a lot of African descendants moved to Africa. Most of people, they were planning to move there when he was there already. Until right now, that we want to go to see this man, what he's doing for the country. Imagine that a single man. So imagine if that is the spirit of our people. So I love the fact that we started with this mindset, transformation of the mindset, because that's what he was doing by constantly repeating that, you know, keep God first in everything, that Africa is rich, is not poor. We can handle things. We can do things. Or, you know, we don't have uncles and aunties outside. So right now, I would like for you to go specifically some of the things that he did actually in the country, because we talk about a lot of things, but some of the things that he really did in the country, things that people, they might not know, he did to make sure. I remember the first trip, you know, he went to, it was like the BOT, you know, he went there. Remember this, it was the first one. He was doing all these surprising visits. Like it happened at the airport, it happened at the immigration, it happened at there, and you know what is coming up there. So can we go to specific the things that he did within that time to change? Yeah,
exactly. One of the things that maybe I'll start with is in the area of healthcare. Let me just start with that, because I remember during those years before he became a president, you would constantly hear in our news about, you know, people sleeping. No, there are no beds at Muimbili. Do you remember those times? I think you remember those times. You would hear constantly through the news that people are sleeping. There are not enough beds in Muimbili, which is actually the top national hospital, and people were sleeping, you know, on just kind of putting their bed sheets on the floor and sleeping on the floor. You remember that time? And these were some of the things that were baffling me. That how can we have, this is the top hospital in the country, and people are asleep? And strangely, it was not seen as something that is strange. It was just normal. And I was wondering during those years, because we have these so-called the human rights activists, you know, the so-called the democracy, human rights in the West, and so on. You would hear those kind of news, and they would say nothing. Like as if it is not, you know, having proper healthcare, having nice facilities to have proper healthcare, especially for low background families, as if it's not a right, it's not a human right, man. They would never say anything. So that is one thing which actually caught my attention, and I will mention this. So I'm coming from Mara region, and so I managed to build a small house for my mother, in Musoma, which is actually the capital of Mara region. And the place where actually my mother lives is very close to the referral hospital of J.K. Nyerere, which is one of the hospitals where the construction of these hospitals started. I think it started a little bit during Mwalimu Nyerere and continued during Mwinyi time, and then they ceased. So there were these kind of some big hospitals which were meant to be referral hospitals, which were there for very many years. But as we are speaking now, that hospital is working, and it was completed during JPM time. And it was not only in Musoma, Mara. This was in almost every country, or almost every region in the country. So whether you go to Mbeya and you go to different parts of the country, these hospitals, which were there, the building of these hospitals started a very long time ago, but they were, you know, during, let's say, Mkapa time, during Kikwete time, they were completely dormant. These were like ghost houses, which were just laying there. But that is one area where he managed to do something that was really great. Another second thing I'll mention, when it comes to, how do we call this, insurance, health insurance thing, I remember with the national health insurance card, it came to a point where they had this policy where if you had a child, any child in the country, you know, to get health, you were supposed to only pay 50,000 for the entire year. And this also helped many children to actually get health care. Of course, you'll say that, of course, maybe the quality was not sometimes that much good and so on and so on. But always we have to start from somewhere. You know, this is one thing. This is one challenge that we have also as Africans. And I want our listeners to, to take account of this. It's like, sometimes it's like we want to take a step forward. We want to see good things happening, but it's like we are not ready to pay the price to actually enable these things to happen. Because it's like in Tanzania, when Magufuli was the president, and this was not more about the local people. The local people were enjoying life, my brother. The local people were enjoying I can say maybe starting from, let's say, the so-called middle class, the educated class, and the top, what I call the leadership elite or political elite. Those are the groups which didn't like Magufuli that much. Why? Because he made them do their jobs. So when you see, for example,
say that again. He made them do their job. He made them
do their jobs.
They had their job. They were not doing, but he made them do.
Exactly. Wow. That is what he did. And you really look at, you are talking about, so what he did. We look at the span of only 5 years. Only 5 years. You remember he started talking about electricity. Julius Nyerere hydroelectric power plant, which is now almost, I think, at completion. I think there's only, I think a few weeks ago, probably they started getting some electricity already from that place. I think it started working. And this is something that he started. This project was the vision of Mwalimu Nyerere, our founder, the founder of Tanzania. He was the one who had this vision. But for all those years, of course, this was not realized. JPM came to sin. And when he was talking about this, people were thinking like he's crazy. And you remember there was a lot of protest even in Western countries about this project.
They were saying like pollution.
Yes, pollution. They are saying, talking about environmental pollution. They are saying that, okay, this will disrupt the environment. But these guys, I'm sorry, even now what is going on, the war between Ukraine and Russia, the amount of pollution of bombs that are going on, can you compare with the building of hydroelectric power plant? But these guys are supporting the war that is going on and all those bombs. You see that hypocrisy. So Magufuli, that was the very first very big project, because of course, as we know it, if it's completed well, it will give us autonomy in terms of energy. And one of the main challenges that we have as African countries in terms of development, energy is usually one of our main challenges. And actually, there are very many shoddy deals that are usually done behind the scenes as far as energy is concerned. So they are usually shoddy deals and a lot of corruption, where some companies from the West will pretend like they are coming back in the country to set up these power plants, and they just suck our resources, and at the end of the day, you don't even see that kind of power that is helping local people. And even if they produce a certain kind of power, it will be very expensive. The price actually skyrockets, which actually end up not helping local people and normal people with, you know, these small industries. So this is one thing I can talk about. That is, we are the witness of the vision and the hard work and the sacrifice of JPM. That is in terms of Julius Nyerere hydroelectric power plant. That is number one. Number two, let's talk about infrastructure. Let's talk about flyovers. Let's talk about roads in different parts of the country. There's even this project that it's going on now of Kigongo Busisi. I think you remember this large bridge that is actually connecting Mwanza side with Sengerema side. I think it's connecting. It's a very big bridge. It started. That was his kind of his dream.
They call it Magufuli Bridge. Right now it's 85%.
You see,
almost complete.
Yes. So in all the different parts of the country, look at, even when you look at Dar es Salaam was completely different before Magufuli came into scene, man. You see the Ubungo flight of the Mfugale bridge, everything you see in Dar es Salaam, you see Dar es Salaam looks modern. It looks like a modern city, you know. You become proud. You know, we used to travel to the West, you know, you come to, let's say I went to Russia, I went to Thailand, I came to Finland and so on, traveling to many other countries passing. And you always, it was, you know, I usually sometimes passed at Kenya, at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, and I would see some sort of many Kenya Airways planes, man, and I felt sometimes a little bit jealous. That's man, you pass at Julius Nyerere International Airport, man. Sometimes you meet only one plane that is written Air Tanzania, or sometimes there's nothing completely, and I was feeling like, what? But man, Magufuli came to scene, bro. More than 10 airplanes. You know, where did he get all this money? If we are poor, because of course people will try to convince me that, oh, because that is the same thing that is happening even now. Is like the psychological warfare that has been done to us to make us think like we are these poor people, we are these low background people, you know, we are these helpless and useless people that we cannot do anything on our own unless a savior from somewhere west comes and, you know, lead a helping hand to us to pull us up. Never, never. That will never happen. And Magufuli actually made that vividly seen to us, because within that time, remember, 10 airplanes bought with our own money. Where did he get the money? He knew where the money was, because we have all these corruptions that are actually sometimes perpetrated by multinational companies that are working in our countries, sucking our resources for nothing, sucking our resources and pretending, on the other hand, that they are, you know, bringing some loans and some grants, while what they are taking is gigantic compared to anything that they are bringing back. And he made us aware of that, and he started tightening all these, you know, all these illegal deals. He started tightening them. He started working very well with the tax system to make sure that people who are actually rich in one way have to pay their fair share. People who are actually mining in different parts of the country are paying their required share. You know, these kind of, in Swahili, they call it mirahaba that we had with these international companies that are actually utilizing our resources. We get the fair share. That is what he did. And we really saw so many airplanes, many hostels all across the country, many hostels. Many things were done even in the education sector. Many schools, many refurbishing and actually renovation of many schools in many different parts of the country, all at the same time. You know, it's like there is not a single sector that you will say Magufuli did not touch. He was actually meant, he was touching everything, everywhere. He was
at the
all
same time,
over the country.
Time you have mega projects. You remember at the same time moving the government to Dodoma, that means you need to build the state house, you need to build the houses, you need to build everything. There's one city in Dodoma right now called Magufuli City, is one of the biggest legacy. If you want to know what he did in his regime and everybody in that regime, you need to go and to see that city to understand that, oh my God, this is what was happening. Talking about infrastructure, you know, he re-innovates all the airports in every single city. Even one of the city in Iringa right now, they're finishing up. So if you go, like this was the time that when you go to the city, you go to Iringa, you go to Mbeya, you go to the airport, you feel like you're in Dar es Salaam. You know what I'm saying? Like he changed every single places. Road, we had Mwendo Kasi, you know, he started that, and this road, fast road, all the roads he built in the country. Right now, man, if you go to drive your car, I've done a couple times, man, it's like you're not driving at all. Are those roads that they are straight, they are quality? Because this guy, he cared about quality. All those you know, this was the time that a lot of Chinese were kicked away, you know. All the construction companies were kicked away. You know, he started even this ID card, Tanzania National ID card. This is one of the best IDs card I've ever seen. Very quality, very amazing, and kudos to Koreans, you know, my brothers and sisters, they did that, you know. And he gave a lot of projects to them. Actually, Surrender Bridge, you can talk about Surrender Bridge. It's the bridge that is going over the ocean. Things that we you know, we just think that we were just seeing on TVs, we were seeing from other countries. This guy, he transformed the country when it comes to infrastructure like never before. You can talk about the railway that was starting, you know, from Dodoma. You go into Morogoro, you know, it goes all the way to Burundi and Congo. It's actually right now, you know, continue. So kudos to that as well. Man, all of these things were done at the same time. The same time, doing multiple thousand people. And kudos not only to him as a visionary, but also to people who were working with him. Because this is the time that you see everybody working like their life depends on it. Everybody doing their part. Prime Minister, man, this guy, see the Minister of Money, you know, of this man, everybody. You look that's when even people they did not want to be, you know, ministers or whatever. Like if you choose and reject, you don't want to become, because you know what is about to come. So you just man, this was the time then we don't worry. We sleep peacefully. Like this is the time that electricity was there. Man, 5 years.
Yes, 24/7.
Oh my God. 5
years, man. Yes.
That is just infrastructure. Talking about infrastructure. That's why the economy, now we're going to go and talk about economy. That's why the economy had to move from the low income all the way to the mid. 5 years. The vision that it was
5 years only.
Yeah, only 5 years. Only within 5 years, it never happened. And it happened during COVID. Let's talk a little bit about you know, about the economy of the country and how it was growing. You know, you know, the collection of the revenue. This was the time that government started to announce what they receive after every end of the month. They said the government has collected this amount of money. Man, this never happened. Government announced every single month how much money they collected. Transparent.
Transparent. Yeah, you know, as I mentioned initially, the very first, actually very big thing for me in this, everything we are talking about, you realize mindset plays a very huge role. And helping our people understand that there is no an uncle, aunt who is coming from somewhere else to help us. And he was constantly mentioning that we actually, we are a donor country. You know, we are not supposed to be people who are begging, you know, begging for help from somewhere else, because we have everything that we need. The only challenge that we had was the mindset that he actually wrestled a lot with. And if you look at, as you have mentioned about the economy, because if we say the truth, there was nothing that was, you know, there is no anything miraculously that happened during Magufuli time that came out of nowhere. That was not there. So if you talk about these sources of revenues, it was just the same. It was just the same. There were no new gigantic deals that were signed. You know, there's something new that we no. He was just utilizing the same things, and he just made sure that everything that we have is accounted for. Everyone who is somewhere is accounting for. If you are given a budget, you have to be accountable for it. If there is a place where the government has to get share, it has to be followed through. Because what happens usually is like government, and this is all across Africa, our government has, let's say, contracts and dealings with companies, these multinational companies and so on, and other big giants. And what happens is that sometimes people in power sometimes do shoddy deals with these companies. So, for example, there's something we call mrahaba in Tanzania. Is actually that share that is supposed to go to the government side. So, for example, if there is a mining company, there's a certain share that has to go to the nation. So that is like our share out of the minerals. If you are mining, then you are taking a certain share out of it. You are taking something for yourself, but then you have to give us something after, of course, the expenditure and everything. And many times what happens is that you realize it was sometimes back then when you were told that mrahaba was something around 3%. And you realized, how is this possible, brother? These resources are ours. These resources are ours. Of course, you come with your machinery and equipment and your people to work, yes. But what would they do if they don't know these resources? How can you give us 3%? 3% out of 103%. How does that happen? And you see, and so sometimes it's written 3%, and the government does not even get that 3% because we have many crooked people also who are part of our systems who only care about what goes into their pockets. So sometimes these contracts will be signed and people will go the back doors and we'll talk to them and we'll tell them, okay, you know, we'll give you this percent, this will come to you personally. And if a person looks at it and, this just for me, this is enough. So he takes that and then he doesn't follow through. So most of the time the challenge is following through, because even law, if the law is there, if it's not followed through, it's nothing. You know, if it's not enforced, it's nothing. It's toothless, you know. So what Magufuli actually did was to look at everything that we had, because if you talk about Tanzania as a country, man, we have very nice policies. We have very nice policies written on paper. And many of these nice policies actually were also written during Benjamin Mkapa time. Kudos to him. I also respect him very much. Of course, he had his downfalls and so on, but he's one president who also admitted publicly, saying the challenges that he saw and the mistakes that he did in his term. And he actually, I also believed at some point that even when Magufuli was alive and the things he was doing, I also believe that he had some sort of Benjamin Mkapa, I think, in a way, because he was his student in a way. Politically, JPM was a student of Mkapa, because Mkapa is the one who actually brought him into the scene, the political arena and everything. So you will see in a book of Benjamin Mkapa where he's My Life, My Purpose, he's also regretting in a way about some of the actions that he did, especially privatization and so on. So he saw that that was a mess. And I think it also played a role when Magufuli came. It's like, to me, because I saw like some of his mistakes were corrected through Magufuli. You see? So we had these nice policies, written papers, we have them, but usually the challenge is following through. So in terms of the economy, the main thing that I think Magufuli did was to follow through. So looking at all the sources of finances within the country. So, you know, because it's like we have these sources of finances that we have within the country, but because people are corrupt, and sometimes the people in the system also get into corruption, what happens is that there is no follow through. So very few individuals within the country become rich, gigantically rich. Some people who are maybe in the government also become rich, but then the system is not working. Because then you lack funds for roads, you lack funds for healthcare, you lack funds for these developments like our airports and so on and so forth, or even in education sector. So what he did in economics, it was to basically, because of course you mentioned he worked in the government, so he had a little bit of background, he had an understanding of the things, the way they were going, and he would see that we can do something here and here. So when he became a president, it's like he mapped everything out. It's like he had his chart and he knew exactly we can do this here, we can fix this here, we can fix this here. And that is exactly what he did. And that is actually why, again, the elite political class and the academic class and the others did not like him that much, because he tightened them. He tightened their bellies, he tightened their belts, and caused them to actually do what they were supposed to do. And that's why we saw the changes that we saw, because mostly you look at, even during that time, we had several embargoes from, the so-called the Western, grants and so on, because they actually stopped some of these things. They say that, no, we are not going to support, we are not going to give these funds, when he was asking for some funds for the roads and so on. And they said, we are going to do it. We are going to do it. We are going to do it using our own resources. And he knew where these resources were. So this is a very special message for us, because that actually shows us that we don't need to look from without. It's like we have everything we need from within. Because, again, I'll give an example. This has been spoken a lot with Dr. Arikana Chiombori Kwao about what is going on in West African countries. That if you look at the resources that are taken out of West Africa per year, what is going out is something above 500 billion USDs. And what they perpetrate, that they are bringing in terms of loans and everything else combined, is about 50 billion. Do you see that? 500 billion,
10 times more.
10 times more.
Actually, what they're doing is this: they're giving 10%. They're giving tithe of what they steal from us. 500 million, and then they give you 500 billion, and then they give you 50 billion. It's 10%. These guys, man. But you said something that I want to highlight, my brother. You said something very unique that I hope everybody's listening very clear and get what we are trying to say. You said this. You said Magufuli did not do anything new, did not do any miracle. What he did, he just increased the discipline, accountability in public offices. You remember he cut down his own salary. His own salary. Not only that, he cut down so many of the public days, so-called public day, for example, Independence Day. He cut it down and he took all the budget of the money to put in the infrastructure or in the work. He cut down all these mwenge, whatever, because these were channels that people get money from. When you have this, you know this is where you can get money. He canceled all the trips going abroad, because he knew if I'm a president, I'm going to certain country, I'm leaving with like 30, 50, 100 people. That all of these people, they're going to spend the money of the people. So he said, no, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm going to stay here. And he cut down. That is not necessary. We have ambassadors. They can do work there. We have representatives there. They can represent us, but we'll remain in the country to build the country. And he increased the tax restriction. People who were not paying tax for years, for decades, they had to pay. He took them to court and they had to pay. And people were paying, right? Those people who did not like that, of course, they closed their business. They walk away and it was like, bye-bye, see you another time. A lot of illegal people that were there. I remember this was the time that a lot of Chinese were kicked out of the country as well, because they were there with illegal documents. They were not there. They had to go out. This guy, he managed to tight expenditure of the government everywhere. And because of that, the government had a lot of revenue coming in. And he was able to do other things. So hear me out. If we think that Africa is poor and our country is poor, we are deceiving ourselves. But the problem is the expenditures of our countries is more than the budget of our countries. And that money is coming from within. So he had to tighten up He had to be disciplined. Himself, he was that disciplined enough. And he held everybody accountable by the same standard. He was fair with everybody and with himself. He held himself accountable to high standard, and he held everybody else in the same standard. And this was the time. And I gotta say this, man. I still see that spirit today, to be honest, in Tanzania. I see that spirit in some of the leaders that are in there. Just yesterday, one of the very big news that was going on in Tanzania, United States, they gave a donation of rice, rice to Dodoma, and even the minister of agriculture, he stood up. He said, we don't need this support. We don't need rice. We have enough rice and we have enough beans in our country. This is not what we need. You ask yourself, this is the rice from United States, but Tanzania is one of the countries that produce rice here in the continent. I'm here in Zambia. The rice that is here in Zambia is coming from Tanzania. Mbeya, Iringa, you're talking about Pawaga and Mbeya, man, they produce. This is the fine first grade rice that we can actually export, and then you're bringing aid of rice to the country. Who asked for that? No, even the Minister of Agriculture did not. I love that guy, by the way, Bashe. Bashe is one of the gem. It's like the spirit of Magufuli, because he was there as well. He's still there, man.
Yes.
If we believe that we are poor, and this is what he was dealing with in our mindset. Everything he did, people did not understand, but he was teaching people through action and telling them. You remember his very, very famous speech. He said that you guys, you will remember me, not because of bad things, but you remember me because of good things, because I have sacrificed my life for the benefit of the poor people, for the benefit of Tanzanians, my people. And truly, people remember that day, because they realize that man, people right now, as I'm saying right now, people, they believe that we are rich. People, they believe that we have it. And it is true. Africa, we are that rich, but the discipline in the public office is not there. And because of that, few people get everything. And the rest of us, we face consequences of the hardship of life. And when we're going through, this inflation or deflation, the people who are suffering are common people. Because we're the ones that are left behind. Because up there, they can handle themselves, they can take care of themselves. So that is very interesting point that we need, that if our government and our people can just hold their offices accountable, really working for the people, just managing the expenditure. Oh man, this continent, we'll be talking about something else. And we see the same thing happen, pretty much the similar thing happen in Rwanda, and what the president of Rwanda is doing. Okay, let's go back to Magufuli. I want to hear, man. I want to hear the what he did when it comes to Pan-Africanism, the relationship of Tanzania and the rest of African countries. You were speaking about, Nyerere Dam. People that they were in charge of that, they were Egypt. He actually went. He was collaborating with African countries to do this thing. If it was not possible, that's when he looked somewhere else, but in his own term. And people respected that. This was the time, man. I was in Korea. I told you, for those 5 years, this was the time Koreans, man, they were praising this guy. They're like, you know what? This was the time that Korea was working so hard with Tanzania. They're like, we love this guy because he's straight to the point. The people, they don't want, they say straight to the point. There's no corruption. It's just about work. You deliver work, you get it. You don't Israel, you're out. So it's the same spirit that is there in their countries. They were finding in the country. It was crazy, the respect that this guy had at that time. Of course, people hated him, but also people who loved to work and to see development, they just loved it. Everything that was done. Yes. You can go ahead. And also we can add with the issue of C word, this pandemic when it came, and how we handled with that.
When you talk about spirit of Pan-Africanism, one thing is to talk about Pan-Africanism in terms of words, which actually many people do. It's very easy to talk about Pan-Africanism and rant about Pan-Africanism and claim and pretend that you're a Pan-Africanist. But it's one thing to actually really be a true Pan-Africanist. And you have mentioned one significance, that he actually made a contract with Egypt to build the dam. So we have these solutions around us. And maybe I'll say again, you look at a country like Rwanda, for example. I think there are many nice things that we can learn. No one is perfect. No one leader is perfect. Everyone has got their challenges. But when we look at the spirit of Pan-Africanism, how can we use the resources that we have within Africa? How can we use the knowledge that we have within Africa? How can we come together? How is it possible that it's very easy to do business with outside countries, and it's very difficult for us as Africans to do business within ourselves and amongst ourselves? So what he did, let's say, with the Julius Nyerere hydroelectric power plant, giving the contract to Egyptians, that was actually a very great signal, because of course these are kind of the so-called high technologies and so on and so forth. Why should we go look for people very far while we have people in Africa who are close to us, who are sharing the African Union platform with us? Why don't we work together? So I think Magufuli was really a manifestation of true Pan-Africanism. So going beyond just talking and speaking and rantling, but actually showing the way and leading the way that, of course, Tanzania, Egypt is advanced in terms of technology compared to us. What can they provide? Can we work together? Why don't we work together? And usually, all the time also you realize that, of course, we start with these borders that we have, the illegal borders that we have, the colonial borders that we have.
I love that. I love that.
These things were created here purposefully. And even today, when I talk to my African brothers and sisters, it's like when I look at the things that we do and the methodologies that we use to do things, you know, it's like you are using the tools of the colonial master, following through those tools exactly as they are, to get out of the chains of the colonial master. This is not feasible. It's like everything we are doing, everything we are following IMF, we are following World Bank rules and guidelines. You are told about the international laws and rules. And sometimes you ask yourself, you remember, of course, when it came even to this issue of minerals in Tanzania, the challenge was that we were told, oh, Magufuli is going against international laws, international rules, and the international legal system he's against that. And this will not be able to. But I ask myself, when all these rules were enacted, were we part of the discussion? Were we consulted? Were we a part of? No, we were colonized during that time. And they made sure all the rules, everything was done to favor them, was done to their advantage. And today, as we look at us as Africans, of course, there are good steps that are now happening, like free, it's called this free intercontinental kind of free continental trade area and so on and so forth. But I think we have to go far beyond just these rhetorics, you know, and these good meetings now and then, and actually implementing these things. Because sometimes you realize it's like, as I mentioned about the enemies within, because Mika, today when you talk to me, of course, as much as I will blame the Western countries, I cannot have the same blame to our leaders. Today, I will have more blame on our leaders than the Western leaders, because in today's world, everyone is looking for anything that gives them an advantage. Every country, they are looking for their own benefit. And for sure, it's not up to the US, it's not up to Russia, it's not up to China to look for the best interest of Africa. They are not Africans.
Absolutely.
The very first people who should look for our own best interest is people who are in our leadership positions, who we have given our offices, who are actually in our offices of power, who are ruling us. These are the people who should have Africa in their hearts. And at some point, you realize that even the leaders that we have, they are, rather than working for our own agenda, they pretend like they're working for our agenda, but behind the scenes, they are basically furthering the same agendas of the colonial masters. So Magufuli was one manifestation of true Pan-Africanism. He talked a lot about us Africans, about our abilities, but he went forward, especially starting with that very gigantic project of Julius Nyerere hydroelectric power plant, making that contract with the Egyptians. That was very symbolic. That was very significant, what he actually did in that. And we see that the project has gone on and it's almost towards completion and it's actually going to work. And that shows that we don't have to look outside. And probably I'll tell you this, I'm an African. You everywhere in the world, if you ask anywhere in the world, if you want, for example, today, if you want to talk about the most intelligent people in the world, actually you will be told they are Nigerians. Strangely.
That's true.
They are Nigerians. Nigerians are our fellow brothers and sisters. They're Africans. Of course, they also have a lot of challenges politically and so on, the leadership thing. But this is to show you and to actually manifest to us that there is nothing strange. There is no any unique gene that is on this side that we don't have. I have studied here in Finland. I have studied in Russia. I have shared classrooms with these guys. We are basically just the same people. We are basically just the same people, you know, the abilities are just the same. So we go back to leadership. How can we actually work as Africans? Taking an example of what Magufuli has shown. But now I come again and talk about Rwanda, for example. You can say, of course, it's a small country. Even Finland is a small country. And it's actually has a model that many actually Western countries are also copying in terms of education and other things. We can take that from Rwanda. Look at what is happening in Rwanda. People have different theories and everything. Everybody will say this and that about what is happening and so on and so forth. But you cannot deny that Paul Kagame has really changed Rwanda. No matter what you say, we can't deny that. And of course, you'll talk about dictatorship. He's a dictator. Man, I always tell people this thing. Look at UK, for example. Look at UK, the UK. Take UK as an example. We have the king and queens. When do you ever hear them holding elections to actually take the king and queen off? That is like a permanent government that is there. And you can't tell me, you can't convince me today that the leadership of UK and the government of UK is not listening from what is coming from the king or the queen. No way. No way. So you see, so these governments, they just have different forms, you know, it's just different faces of the same thing. And for us, okay, what is the most important thing? Is it the most important thing that every 5 years we change the face of a person who is leading our country? Is that what we want? It's just the show of is it a popularity context or is it a showbiz? You know, that we need to show, you know, we need to put someone else in the no. First of all, we need leaders who are patriotic, leaders who have the interest of Africa in their hearts. But of course, we have to be prepared as Africans that whenever you have this kind of leader, because I remember during Magufuli time, there was a lot of resistance, even from within Africa, even from within Africans ourselves. Of course, even from within Tanzanians, there were people who were opposing him. Basically, we were, those kind of people, we are basically just following the narrative of the Western media and the things that were coming from the Western media, which was actually contrary to the reality of the things, you see. So we have to be vigilant. We have to look at our leaders. And if someone is doing something good, why should we change him? We need stability. Stability, you cannot get stability within 5 years. That's some Tanzanians are saying that, okay, you know, Magufuli was very good, but the challenge that was with him, he didn't create a stable system. You cannot create a stable system within just 5 years. You know, you need something that is continuous. You need to work. You see, you look at countries like Libya. You'll talk about Muammar Gaddafi. Yeah, he was a dictator. Of course, we know they assassinated him. Gaddafi was a dictator and so on and so forth. Compare what Libya was and what Libya is now. Completely different things. Every country that is touched in terms of, you know, bringing democracy and freedom and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, you look at what happens after those interventions is completely chaos. You saw what happened in Rwanda before Paul Kagame, the massacre, you know, the ethnic cleansing that happened in Rwanda. And the entire world was just there, just watching, you know. So we have to come to a point of realizing, as Magufuli said, that there are no uncles and aunts who are going to come from outside to help us. But for us as Africans, one thing is that we have to start holding our leaders accountable. For today, I say again, many things have been done for us psychologically for many years, you know, like what you were mentioning about the maize that actually, is it maize or no rice? You know, US bringing rice to Tanzania. Do we really have shortage of rice in Tanzania? Do we really need rice from US to come to feed our children? Are we really desperate that way? No, we are not. But why are they doing that? That is a psychological warfare. It's continuing to implant that thing that, you know, we are helping you. So that makes, actually, you go to many villages in our countries, people think that, oh, we cannot survive without these guys. Oh, you know, they are bringing, you remember during Bush came to Tanzania one time and he was jumping with the Maasais, and that they were bringing the how do we call these nets, the safety nets for anti-malaria nets and so on. Are we really that desperate in our countries? Can't we really fix these kind of problems? You realize, no. So yeah, Magufuli is really an icon. Magufuli is really someone who really opened our minds. And today, even in Tanzania, no matter what has happened, you cannot go to a local normal Tanzanian and convince them today that we are poor and we will depend on the West. No, that message is gone.
That's why has been a huge resistance with this aid. Not only that, or whatever aid that is coming to the country, because people they know that we don't need this, and people you know, you say he actually built the system in 5 years. He built the system, because we can talk about the current president, you know, Mama Yetu Samia, and what she does. She's basically accomplishing what her leader started, because she was there. She was the vice president when all these things happened, and what she dedicated or what she promised is to finish within this time, to finish all the projects that were started. And that's why you see, you know, right now State House is there, Nyerere Dam is there, all these projects that you see are happening. You know, it's finishing. Even the new cargo flight that has been bought, you know, it's accomplishing what was already started. So whether we agreed or not, but in 5 years, the direction of the country actually changed. You know, obviously, when you have a different leader, you know, people are different. You cannot expect, you know, Mama Samia to be like, you know, JPM. You know, how she did. These are two different individuals. They have two different motives and everything. So it's not gonna be the same. But obviously, you can see that the foundation that it was built during his regime, you can see that things are moving. Things are actually good. Actually, not things are like, you can see the country actually change in the right direction. Yes, things might go slow. Yes, but you see the spirit of work. When you look at the government, you can actually see, you can go and say, that person, they are actually trying to do good work, and they are actually accomplishing things. You can see that today. You know what I'm saying? So I think what he did with, you know, the way, man, I don't know even how to express this. You know, there was a time, it reached a time that we believed that this country is done. I remember there was a time we believed that this country is done. There's nothing that we can do. Like, you know, we just here, like we you know, Tanzanians, we don't really, you know, we're not outspoken, you know. You know, that's why I don't even have audience from Tanzania. To be honest, people are not stepping forward. If they're here, then they're here very quietly. They don't do anything. You know what I'm saying? We're not really outspoken about things. Just, you know, like these. We don't even talk these things about these things about our own president who was there, because we feel like, you know, we're making mistakes. No. This is the heritage of the country. This, you're talking about what happened in the country. You're talking about the government and what it did. This actually should be one thing to be celebrated. That one of the governments, one of the regime in Tanzania actually did well. This should be something that CCM should be proud of. that the
Yes.
political party that is leading that, oh yes, we actually produced one of the greatest leaders that Tanzania ever had. This is something to be celebrated that we did that.
Yes.
Why people are scared
Yes.
to talk about this? These are things that happen in the country. These are things that we are proud of as Tanzanians. We are proud of. We're proud of our government. We're proud of what they did, and we celebrate it. And we're like, okay, this was the right direction. Please, let's take this direction. Let's move forward, because change can happen in the country if we dedicate everything we have. Because being a leader, this is the time that I learned that being a leader is not only an honor, the honor that hey, His Excellence. No, you know the reason why you are called His Excellence, it is because of you. I mean, you have to be excellent. Excellent. That's why we'll call you His Excellence. We'll call you honorable minister because you're doing honorable deeds. How are we calling you honorable if you're corrupted? How can we call you His Excellence if you're not holding the standards of being excellent in office? We cannot call you that. You don't deserve. So being a leader is actually, you are a slave to the people you lead. You work for them 24/7. You can't afford to sit down and to gain belly and to gain fat, whatever. You don't sleep. You're taking care of 60 million people. How are you gaining weight? That is something that I always ask. How can you sleep? Like, just of course, how can you take vacation while you are in the state house? There are people that, if you become a leader, you have to know that it's sacrifice. If it is 5 years, you're not going to have a break for 5 years. Take break before you run for president. But soon after you become a president, 5 years, let the people take break. You know, in the house, just an example, in the house, you have dad, mom, and kids. Are you taking a break in the house while you have kids that they depend on you? That they school, food, whatever, they depend on you. If you take break, your kids, you know where they will be. You know that, you know what kind of life they're going to live. So you as a leader, you have to know that when you are a leader, you become a leader. It is a sacrifice, like literally sacrifice of your time, sacrifice of your energy, sacrifice of your life. Because basically, as a father or as a mother, you'll be ready to die for your kids. If there's some danger happening, as a dad, you'll be like, I'm here, let my kids leave. I'm ready to go. That is leadership, to be able to sacrifice yourself. Like, you have to be dead when you're alive. You know what I'm saying? Like, to know that, I'm already gone. Because you know that is a huge responsibility, and anything can happen. Your life should be on the line for the sake of the country, for the sake of the people. And that's what we saw during his leadership. And that's what is missing in Africa's leadership today, because we only care about having all this police following on our journey, not staying on the traffic jam. We only care about the ties and the offices and the nice chair to turn around like this. We only care about posting on Instagram. These days, leaders on the Instagram. You see leader updating every single time. You're wondering yourself, man, some of them, they even go live. Yeah, I'm not talking about Tanzania. I'm talking about the entire continent of Africa. Some of them going live stream. You have time to go. Okay, if you have somebody taking care of your social media, that's okay. But how do you get time to do? Okay, of course, social media is important, but I'm talking about those people who are doing by themselves. You know what I'm saying? Then what should we do? What is our job as content creators? What are we gonna do if you do that as a leader? Like, it does not make sense. So you see, like, things that we focus on today, we focus on popularity, to have a blue tick on our social media. But what about the work? Do you have blue tick from the people you lead? People despise you. People despise your leadership. You do nothing. And the only thing that you're waiting for, okay, this 1 year I have wait. I'm talking about Africa's leadership. I'm not talking about specific country right now. I'm talking about Africa's leadership. And we're talking about Jembe, RPM, RIP, JPM, John Pombe Magufuli, and what he did, the legacy he left for us. And if we are going to forget that, if we're not going to honor that, if we're not going to work hard and give everything we can for the sake of our people, if you're a leader in your government, in your country, or in your organization, or whatever in your house, because it starts from the bottom, even yourself. If you don't have family, you don't have yourself. How do you lead yourself? How do you conduct yourself? If we cannot hold ourselves and people that lead us accountable, then I'm telling you, we are not going to see change that we need.
Very much, brother. Very much. One thing I wanted to actually highlight here, it also aligns very much with the mindset thing. So you remember when the new state house in Dodoma was being built? Do you remember that the White House, the state house in Dodoma was not built by Chinese or Westerners?
Yeah, it was built by the soldiers. It was built by the soldier, by the money of the people. No Chinese, whatever. Because you cannot build your state house. You know,
exactly.
What I'm surprised. You know, the African Union building was built by Chinese. They built everything. They put software, everything. How can you build your state house and then you invite them to be? No, soldiers built. That's how soldiers got their job. They built that. Most of them, they were, I think, you know, there was something going on. Then they were kicked out. I don't know what was happening, but they built the state house.
Yes. Soldiers. Yes. So yeah, that is actually,
guys, they don't know what is happening. That they don't know the system. They don't know nothing. That is one of the most secure place in the country right now.
Yes, and that was also a very good signal, especially for young people, because if you can't trust you, because that was the highest level of trust. You know, the state house is actually, so you would say that is the most VIP part of any country. You know, the most important part of any country, and giving that. Remember, our young people from JKT were actually involved very much. They actually were employed in that project, and they were working very hard in that project. Yeah, that actually signifies, because he was a president who did not only talk, he walked his talk. So when he talked about the mindset and trying to change our mindset to see that we don't expect any uncle to come from anywhere, he was actually doing things. The actions he was taking was actually following through with his own words. So yeah, I wanted to actually mention that, because sometimes you wonder, they are very, very normal projects. Everything is given, you know, to outsiders and Westerners and so on and so forth, as if you know, what they are building is they are building something from heaven, right? Which is not. You see, so I think a part of patriotism is also trying to look at our own people, and that also comes then, because if then you can give such kind of responsibilities, then you see the importance of actually educating your own people, of actually equipping and empowering them. But if you're just taking everything from outside, then you don't see the importance and the necessity of actually empowering and educating your people. And yeah, this is one thing I'll also mention. I have to mention it here, that I'm also sad to say that I think, because you remember during Magufuli time, before Magufuli, a lot of our educated class were always claiming that, you know, these offices are just filled with politicians. You remember in Tanzania that many, and then when Magufuli came, what did he do? Almost every office, you know, these strategic positions and accountability, most of these strategic positions, you talk about the secretaries, the permanent secretaries, the ministers, you talk about especially, let's say, the directors and so on in these different key areas. All of these were educated people, purely educated people. We took many people from universities to these positions, you see? And this is one thing that is always baffles me, because I always say that I think a part of our downfall as Africans is that we have, you know, we Africans who are the so-called educated class, okay? We are the ones who are very much well exposed to the world. Of course, we studied in different parts. We went here, we went there. We have seen how the systems are working in other countries. But sometimes it's sad, brother, that sometimes you come back home and the same people who have seen how things are done in other countries are the same people who are clinging to the old ways of doing things. They are the same people who don't want to shake anything. They are the same people who don't want even to accept the opinions of other people. So sometimes to me, it looks like our educated class, rather than becoming, you know, the watchman and the guards of of the palaces of Africa, they are actually also sometimes the same tool that those who does not want good for Africa, so I'll go back, I'll talk about colonial masters, neo-colonialists, are still using this same class of Africans actually to recolonize us. So yeah, this is really something that is really and very, very much sad. And yeah, I think we have to wake up. We have to wake up. And even these people who we are giving positions of power and so on and so forth, just being educated is not enough. We have to look at these people and actually see them for who they are. Are these people, do they really have good interest of our countries in their hearts? And for me, usually the measure is very simple. I usually tell people, for example, if maybe, let's say I was having a position in the government and I was looking for someone, let's say, to appoint to a certain position, maybe to hold an office. The only thing to do is to look at the history of these people. What did they do before getting any position of power? What were they doing? If maybe he was working somewhere, follow through his work. What initiatives were they doing in whether in their communities or in the areas where they were living? What were they actually doing? Because at the end of the day, you realize we have the so-called educated class who sometimes think that they are better than the rest of the society, and they don't actually mingle with the society. Sometimes they don't understand the challenges of our societies. Sometimes even when you talk about local families in Tanzania and the challenges that these local families have, these guys sometimes don't even understand what these challenges are about and what if these challenges really exist. So if we are going to have people in positions of power, if we really want Africa to change, of course, it will take a lot of work to actually continue, and the work you are doing is actually a very commendable work to continue to actually enlighten our people and change their mindset and make them understand that we are better like everybody else. There's nothing special from anywhere else that we don't have. But at the same time, is to help our people understand that it is through these same people, because sometimes they come and bribe our people. Sometimes they come and, they come and do some show of things for a very short time, just for the sake of election. And once they are given positions of power, they are nowhere to be seen. We wait until 5 years are gone, and then they come back again and they try to do some bribing and so on and so forth. We have to start holding these people accountable, and we have to look at these people. We have to follow through their histories. What have they accomplished? What have they did for the years that they have lived? What initiatives have they actually done in our communities before actually giving them and accepting them to be part of leadership that will actually lead us? Because otherwise, we will rant, we'll talk about colonialists, we'll talk about neo-colonialists, but if these people are the ones in positions of power and they are the ones who are leading us, it will be very long-fetched to see people like Magufuli again.
Indeed. For those who are joining us right now, please do not forget to like the stream. Do not forget to share your comments as well in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel. Those who are, and we have a lot of people actually following us on X. We have more than 100 people actually watching us live from Twitter right now. This is really surprising because Twitter right now, these days, we have a lot of people coming from Twitter actually. And here on YouTube, we have a couple of people as well joining us. I think, 20-something people. But also we have people joining us on, Instagram and TikTok as well. We're live on YouTube, Swahili Nation, and all other different platform. We are live by the name of Mika Chavala. I want to appreciate for your generosity, Nana Dreams, for the super chat that you've given. Appreciate for always being very generous, and also appreciate our sister BJ as well for being very generous, with your super chat. And for those who are joining, we've been really emphasizing people these days to join membership. Every community that you are in, you actually have, kind of some sort of membership, right? So here in our family, we have a membership here on YouTube as well. And one of the benefits is that most of the videos you will actually be the first one to see before anybody sees, but some of them we release exclusively only for members. This is the way of you showing that you are committed, with what we do here. If what we do you feel like it's necessary, it's important, and you feel like you're part of this community, and you are actually able to contribute something, feel free to join membership. The link is in the description. You start from $2.99 a month, right, and going upward. You can choose however package you can do. You can contribute. That helps us in our mission and the work that we do. Right now, as I'm saying, I'm here in Zambia right now. I've been here this for a second week. We're here on a mission, and our mission have been pretty much very successful. But after this, let me say this again, my brother. After this, you have no idea what is coming. But we're going to be on a road again to go to some certain African countries, and you have no idea. But what is coming is crazy. What is coming is amazing, and it's only by the hand of God. So I really want to encourage everybody who is joining. If you're watching us away from the YouTube, maybe on other platform, you can go on our YouTube channel called Swahili Nation and click those links for joining the membership. You can actually even click the link on my bio, the link tree. If you click there, you'll find all this Patreon, YouTube membership. If you don't want to be committed every month, we have PayPal. You can use all these different kind of platforms to actually support. Moving from one country to another, our vision is to go to all 54 countries to bring this awareness and this message, and to do that, to connect with our people. We've been here in Zambia. If you've been following our YouTube and our content, I think you've been seeing, and we have a lot of them yet to be released as well. And we can't really stand in this mission on our own, right? We need you guys to stand with us. We need you guys to go with us. I was talking with one of my friends today, face to face, Zambian. I just met that person here. And so I was showing my YouTube, and it's like, oh, this is our YouTube, and this is the video we made. So she was trying to watch that video, and she did not have an access. So she was like, why can I see? I was like, oh, this actually is for members. If you want to see this, you need to join membership. And she was like, oh, so you want me to pay to watch it? And then I asked her a question. I was like, do you have Netflix? She's like, yes. I was like, how much do you pay per month watching Netflix? And that's the place that we get all this agenda of all this stuff, all the time. And after I raised that point, it actually made sense to her. And she was like, oh yeah, that's true. And like, so you see, sometimes it's difficult. People are stingy of doing this kind of thing. People who have ability to do that, it's difficult for them to actually go ahead and do it, simply because they're looking at me and they feel like this guy is making a lot of money. How can I help him for him to make money? But in reality, it's actually another case, right? We're not doing this to make money. If we're doing this to make money, there's a lot of things it could be done with our expertise. And I'm working. I came here with my PA, and this guy, he just got his degree. He's a journalist by professional, and he's my PA, and he's worked with me, and we're here right now for a mission. This guy who could get any other job somewhere else and earn a lot more money than what he does here, Swahili Nation. Or the guy that is dealing with graphic design, and other people who just does for free, right? But they are committed to do this because they know that it's the noble work and it's for our people, but not for making money, because in that case, that's not the case, right? So I really want to invite everybody to really, if you want us and you are able to do that, you can actually join the membership and do. And you guys, I know most of you guys here, you are able to do that, but I don't know why you're still waiting and you still can't do that.
Yeah, maybe Mika, if I could say something as well. Yeah, so I also encourage our brothers and sisters to actually, to do something in this, because so I think when we communicated the first time, so I came across your videos, and I was really inspired. And as what you have mentioned is, if you wanted to have money, there are other topics that you do that people would love, and that even the other people that we are talking about will be able to support. So doing this kind of work, of course, you don't, the powers that be and the people with agendas and so on, they can't support this because this is against what they want. Because now we are trying to challenge, and you are trying to challenge helping an African child and African people to change mentally, and that is where the warfare is always going in our minds. And this is not something that they want to see, you see. So if we are the ones, people like me and others, we are the ones who we are responsible for this, because this is for us, this is for our future generations. And if we don't do it, who will do it for us, as Magufuli said? Because there's no any uncle or aunt who will come. Because if you give other people power to do it for you, then they'll come with the strings. And then they'll start pulling those strings, and you'll not be who you are, and you'll not perpetrate, or let's say, actually propagate the message that you really want to propagate. So, yeah, I really encourage our brothers and sisters, and yeah, I'm also looking forward probably to change, because I think I've been in 2.99 for so long now. So for a couple of months, I think I need to upgrade that.
I know you might not be able to say this, but let me acknowledge you here publicly right now for that support, because I do remember first time you phoned me like almost a year ago. You were very first, I would say, a Tanzanian to actually reach out privately, and actually you actually joined. You reached out to me through Patreon.
Yeah.
You just joined. I did not know even where you came from. I just found one guy, send me very long, Swahili message. You joined Patreon. From the very beginning, you just started support. We did not even know each other. You encouraged me. You say, brother, you're doing great job. And what you're doing, you really touch my heart. It's something that I've been wanting, this and this and that and that. And you say, this is my pledge. I'd like to support. And at that time, to be honest, it never happened. I'll tell you the truth. Tanzanian, it never happened. You know what I'm saying? It never happened. So I was thinking, I was like, who is this guy? Is this guy really Tanzanian or somebody else? I was really thinking about this. But, we were supposed to talk for so long. And man, I gotta say, man, I'm really sorry, because I kept you waiting.
No, bro.
Who was supposed to talk?
This was the right time.
let me say this. I need to come clean to you. I need to come clean to you. And this is what I think some people, they hate me for. Because imagine a person came. Let me just talk to the community. Imagine somebody came, texted, and made a pledge. Not just talking, but made a pledge and started to give through Patreon. And we were supposed to talk. That enough should have been the reason for us to start talking already, because that's what we plan to do. That okay, we're gonna talk. But man, it went month after month, more than 6 months. Even talking, have a phone call. And my brother here has been wanting to talk, but it never happened. And it just happened recently. But you never stop supporting.
Yes.
You never stop pledging. You never stop doing that. And there's even something I'm gonna say this. I'm sorry, but I'll say this. Maybe you might not want me to say, but I'll say it anyway. I'll say it anyways, brother. I'm sorry, I'll say it anyways. Recently, we got a trouble with the copyrights as well in our channel, because this is one of the issues that we face. Sometimes, a lot of time, because of the nature of the contents and everything. Sometimes you use this content, that content. We got a trouble, and this brother right here, he stepped forward first of all to reach out to these guys who never replied, by the way. And not only that, but he gave part of his own pocket to help us resolving with the issue of the copyrights that we had. Because it was very blank that, okay, you guys, you want to remove this, you have to do this. This guy, brother, he went ahead. And I remember you were telling me that, let me say this. I'm going to say this. I'm going to be very clear. You say this. You say that, with this nature of the problem, you say this. You say, if you just find 5 brothers. You say this, only 5 brothers who support this, we can get rid of this, we can deal with this. And for me, that's very hard for me. Really, it's really hard. Going ahead, what I'm doing right now, I'm doing beyond what I would love to do. Like, it's not something I love to do, going out and ask. You push me doing that, and I did not do. I'll be honest with you. I did not do it because it's not something I can do. But you say that, and you one time you say, okay, this is my pledge, my brother, you need to get rid of this because we need this platform. You went ahead, and so I'm saying this in front of everybody to know that the conversation that we are having here, you can't believe that I did not, we did not find you yesterday, but it's been for almost a year, and to be honest, I'm really sorry about that, but I believe it was God's time for us to have this conversation. Even today, I told you that, man, we're going to have this conversation. We're going to have very short conversation. You remember, that's what I said. Very short conversation about Magufuli, and then it's done. But look at us now, 2 hours and 15 minutes. But all this to say that, guys, we need you know, I don't know why. Maybe you can help me as we're going to finish this. You can help me talk about this. Is it okay? I want to be very careful because I don't want everybody to feel like I'm bashing on y'all, but I want to be very careful on this. That you know, Magufuli, what he did, if you guys have listened to all the conversations that we're having, the first beautiful thing he've done, more than anything else that he did, it is the mindset. We've spoken about that a lot, that he was dealing with the mindset. If in your mind you believe that you can do it on your own, even if you have money coming from the outside, it doesn't matter. Because inside of your heart, you believe that we can actually do it. So whether it comes or it don't, because I believe you cannot stand alone. I believe that we need to support one another. As Africans, we need to be there for one another. We need that because we have mutual benefit. If you support me, obviously there's a service that perhaps I'm giving it to you, and you support the work I'm doing so that you can continue to get that support or continue to get that service. You know what I'm saying? So we support one another. Even this country, you know, you cannot just say, I'm giving you rice, this is what you need, okay, solve these issues. No, there's something you want from me. It's transactional. All right, it's a barter trade. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of, we're going back to the barter trade, that I'm giving you this and you're getting this, right? So if we have that mindset, then everything else is solved. Just only if our mindset change. And I think this is kind of spirit that our people, we need to understand, that if we want to run things, if we want to call shots, if we want to run things on our own, then we need to be willing to do things by ourselves. Brother, when we came and when we started this movement, we promised one thing. We said, we are not going to ask for money from outside. We're not. Because it's very the things that I'm in, and you know, I don't want to say this here online because these people might be watching as well. But you know, I share this a lot of time, that we have so many emails coming to us, because I'm not even dealing with emails anymore. But we have so many emails, so many requests about, you know, doing business, partnership, doing A, B, and C, and this with good number. But we have not yet accepted, because we want to stay pure to the cause and to what we do, right? We want to stay pure. We want to stay with that. And I believe, that's why I believe in God, that you know, where we are going is looking much better than where we're coming from. Because if we hold ourselves to that high standard, and we hold ourselves to work for our people and for our people only, because we want to have the voice, and also we want to be the voice to the muteless, to our people. In order for us to have that, we need to build this community by ourselves on our own. And I love the fact that whether if you have ability, you can do that. That's good. If you don't have, it's okay. I don't want you to feel bad. It is okay, because you being here, supporting, liking, sharing, it's already a huge support. Being here just watching, it's a massive support. But things that are about to come, you guys who are part of this community, you'll be proud. Yeah, like you will be walking on the street and be like, you know, I am Swahili Nation. You know what I'm saying? Because we are Swahili Nation. This is the community. Like we'll be walking on the street and be like, you know, I am Swahili Nation. Yeah, we are Swahili Nation. Because the things that they're not going to happen, no, they have already happened. But you just don't know. They have happened. And you're going to be so proud to be part of this community. You're going to be so proud to be part of building this community. And be like, that is my community. You know what I'm saying? I cannot really stand today and be like, you know, this is my community. No, that's why I always say this is our community, because I know how many people are involved in this community. So I encourage you guys that as we're building this one Africa, and you want to see that Africa we want, be part of this community. Actually be a part of it actively. It is very important. And you will be, If Magufuli did that in 5 years, brother, what are we going to do in so many years we have ahead of us?
Yeah, this is our duty and our obligation. And to me, is like, as you mentioned before. So when Magufuli, what Magufuli did, it reinforced in me the passion, the love for my country and my continent. Because at some point I was losing hope. To tell you the truth, at some point I was also losing hope, because I was asking myself, where are we going? Why is it that we don't have strong leaders who, can really actually stand and show us the way? Why is this happening this way? I was losing hope at some point because of some other stories that happened even in the past. Because, yeah, for example, during the leadership, during J.K. Kikwete time, the government during that time, there are things that actually I was a student. I also went through some challenges and trials during that time. I was a student's leader, and we actually stood to oppose some of the negatives that were happening. And yeah, during that time as well, I actually lost 3 years of my first degree and completely started afresh. Yeah, so I was a leader of Tanzanian students who were studying in Russia during that time. I was the president of Tanzanian students who were studying in Moscow. And yeah, some things happened. So that also disappointed me. So we went back home. We were recalled back home, myself and 5 other guys. And that's when I started afresh my first degree at the Dar es Salaam Institute of Technology. So what happened during that time was basically mostly because of irresponsibility of people in position of power. So there were people who were making transactions. So money is sent from the ministry to Russia that should come to us students, but people were taking this money and sometimes putting it in their quick accounts and utilizing it for their own other purposes, and then releasing it after maybe 6 months when they feel like. So situation became very, very difficult. And we, yeah, as students, we have things that we have to do, like sometimes protesting and so on and so forth. So it led to a challenge that time as well. So I was actually losing hope, because sometimes initially I believe that when you stand for what you believe is right, and especially standing to defend your fellow people, because, for example, I was a leader of students, Tanzanian students, and I always believe that when your people have given you a certain position, they trust you. They believe in you, and they actually have hope that you can help them. You can help make things go in a certain direction. And I usually take that as huge responsibility in me, and I always try to follow through and do what I believe is the correct thing to do. So I was very much disappointed, because sometimes you believe that when you stand for what is right, you are supposed to get the rewards. But then, of course, I have learned over the years that when you stand for what is right and you stand to defend your people, sometimes you will face the worst that you never imagined. So I was in a way losing hope. But when Magufuli came through the scenes, it actually re-energized me very much. And I felt like, oh, wow, there's the spirit is still here, and there are people who are willing to give themselves, are willing to sacrifice their lives for the betterment of our people and our countries. Yeah, so to tell the truth, even now that I'm here in Finland, as I've mentioned to you, many things that I'm doing are basically just focusing on Africa. And every day as I go forward, it's continues to give not only hope, but it gives me it has left a mark in me. Magufuli is actually, so I never met him in person. We never met him, anywhere that, okay, now I'm giving my hand to him or greeting him. I think we met through spirits. Through the Spirit of God, I think we met in spirit. And he has left a mark in me. And all the things, anything I try to touch, if it's not really directly connected to something positive back home, I will not do it in a way. I will not touch it. So he has really left a mark on me, and a depth that I have in me, that I have to do whatever I can do to also contribute something back to the continent, back home, and so on and so forth. So yeah, really.
My brother, I know a lot of people joined here and they're asking that I want to know his background. For you guys who came late, go back to this video when we started. He spoke about his background a little bit, but this is not the last conversation I'm going to have. I'm just so glad that I found my brother. And because, to be honest, today is the first time we are having this conversation in detail. We never had this. We never really had this. So this is the first time we are doing it here. And I did not know what you're going to say, but I knew your heart is in the right place, just like, mine. So I really appreciate that. But we are going to come back again, because I think we'll, this conversation we need to continue,
Yes.
and to really, going specifically in some of the details, to just talk about these things. And I think as we continue to do that, we can continue to share about as well your life
Yes.
and your journey and the things you're doing right now for the continent. There might be a lot of people in here that are watching that, we might join our hands together and actually do that, start these programs, in our countries. That's the beauty thing about this, about this community, that we have people from all over the world at different countries who are actually very, expertise in their careers. And and this is the thing, that this community is constantly attracting those kind of people who think critically, people who ask why, people who don't just settle for anything lesser than their value, people who knows exactly what they need. They don't settle for mediocrity. They settle for something more. They believe there's something more. And I think those are majority of people that have been attracted, in this community, right? So I think we're building really something really that will, bring about, big change to this community. And I'm so proud to be part of it. And I'm so proud that my brother, you came here today and share this. Thank you very, 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 very much. This is the beginning. I gotta say that publicly, that this is the beginning. We need to continue this conversation, for the sake of our people, so that we may continue with that, the changing of the mindset and everything.
Yes.
I think that is everything, and we're gonna get there.
Yes, brother. Yes, so as a final word, I also want to I'm very grateful for this. You mentioned that we would have done it a long time and so on, but no, everything has got its correct time, and sometimes we just have to be patient. So I knew, and I've always seen how you go to these different parts and you have different engagements and so on. And I just believe that one day some chance will come, we'll have a discussion. And it's out of, really, I will reiterate this again, seeing what you were doing and realizing that you are a Tanzanian as well. It actually caused me to think a little bit more, because we have many of our young people, but many young people, the things that are easy to do are like, the gossips from the musicians that we have. And so, of course, I'm not saying music is bad, but of course we cannot just live by music and just gossips. We need people, we need strategic thinkers, we need people who can think, we need people who can, you talk about collaboration, let's say with the other countries, we need negotiators, we need people who can make deals with other countries, for example, for if we really want to go forward as the continent. And seeing what you were doing, I realized and I knew that you chose the field that you chose was actually the most difficult one. The most difficult one. And I really appreciated and always felt this close connection. So when I started watching your videos and saw what you were doing, I was all into it to date, and I've always constantly been following. So whenever I find time, I'll come and review and look at some of the videos. And like even last time I was watching the video when you were those Victoria Falls. So no, you actually gave them a certain different name, I think, but they were these gigantic falls, waterfalls. I was looking
that is most Tunya Fall. That is the original name of Victoria Falls. Yeah. So I don't call it
the colonial name. So
and the video is actually already available for members in the YouTube already.
So I really want to again thank you for the work that you are doing. Let's continue the discussion further when we have time. It's all about doing our best to make things better for our coming generation. Like people like JPM have led the way for us. They've shown us the way, despite the challenges, despite the resistances, despite the oppositions, but they still sacrificed themselves for us. So that's a duty for us also to do whatever we can to inspire the other coming generation. Because now, for example, for me, I'm trying to put most of my energy in young people, because I realize if, for example, I'm in this country, which is Finland, They've gone very far in terms of innovation and other things. But one thing you realize is that the foundations are very strong. So the education of their young people is very, very strong. And that has helped these countries kind of in a way to actually get very further. So I really believe in the power of young people. And I'm really grateful for the work that you are doing. Dedicating your life, because there are many other opportunities you would have run for, which actually might be fancy, which would bring you money. You know, I know still you are struggling now even to get something, you know, to actually sustain yourself while still doing this. But yeah, let's keep doing the good work. And we are here. This is our community, and I'm encouraging many other young Africans. If this thing is really important for us, we cannot just say it's important just by words. We have to support it. We have to, no matter, it doesn't matter the amount that you are giving, anything that you are giving, no matter how small it is, but we have to give something, because we cannot pretend that we don't have nothing. No, we have something. Yeah, maybe we have other needs somewhere else. Yes, but still, the little that we can divide and give somewhere else, we have the responsibility also to support this, because this is ours. And let's make things better for our coming generation. Yeah, and thank you, Mika, for having Swahili Nation, being the founder of Swahili Nation. I actually told last time that we are coming with something called Swahili Safaris. So
yeah.
we'll have a discussion about that.
Yeah. You know, I'm part of that. You know, I need my share in that. I'm part of that. Swahili Safari, we have to introduce them here in Swahili Nation. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's a Swahili Safari. We have to introduce right here. So, you know, those videos that we create, you know, be like, this video is brought to you by Swahili Safari. And then we go,
yeah. But finally, yeah, JPM, John Joseph Pombe Magufuli is one icon that I really, when growing up, I didn't think that one day I'll come in my lifetime to witness that kind of an African president. But yeah, I thank God for his life. I celebrate his life. I'm not saying rest in peace. I always say rest in power, because he is in our hearts. Even though he's there where he is, we won't see him physically. He is in our spirit. He has energized us. Whatever we are doing, he is doing it through us as well. So he's living. Actually, Magufuli is living. He's not dead. For me, Magufuli is living, and we will take forward his initiatives and his spirit for the coming generation and the other coming generations of Africa. So yeah, I think thank you very much for this wonderful moment, wonderful time. And yeah, we pray to God to continue to help us, to support us, to show us, to lead us the way, to show us the best things to do as we continue to navigate through this troubling waters of the world. But hopefully something greater and something better is ahead of us.
100%. My brother, thank you so much. I will talk to you very soon.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Ubuntu.
That's my brother right there, man. My brother Kanyatare. This is very, 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 very special conversation, and y'all can agree that we haven't had this type of conversation in such a long very time. And I promise you that we'll carry on with this conversation. I think my brother Kanyatare, I'll bring him here as many times as we can to continue to have this conversation, because this is someone that has a lot of experience, have a lot of exposure, have a lot of knowledge, smart. I know that to some extent, based on what I've seen already, right? And someone who loves Africa with everything he got, right? So we share that in common. And I think when you bring those kind of people together, then what you get is what you've got here today. You know what I'm saying? So if you came late, don't be late next time. And also you can go back to this video from the beginning, watch from the start. You'll see where we started and how we got here. But I'm going to talk to him, my brother. As soon as I finish this, I'm just going to leave a message to him to plan about the next conversation and what are we going to, talk about. And so you guys stay right there. These are kind of things that you need to participate, to be part of it. And yeah, it's beautiful. Somebody asked me the other day that, hey, Mika, why don't you, he said this, why don't you start at school for our kids? This person here in Zambia actually say that, okay, he said, I want you to be a mentor to my son. I want you to teach my son about Africa. I want you to talk to him about Africa. I love what you say. I want you to. So I realized that we have a lot of people there who they see there's a need for our kids and the next generation to learn about Africa, not from the books, but from young people like me and you, or from Africans, because they can look at me and they might assume something different, but when they listen to me talking, then they realize that, oh, okay, there's Africa in here, right? So I was really honored to hear that, but also I felt responsibility that, wow, what we are doing, this is actually a school, this is actually a university. This is what we do here, because we have doctors, we have professors, we have farmers, we have leaders, we have pastors, we have everybody watching, listen, musicians. We have everybody connecting with the message. You say, why? Because this is the message about Africa. And when you talk about one Africa, you talk about everybody together. So I am glad and proud that you guys are in here, and introduce this channel, to your kids if you have kids, to different people if you have them, because the knowledge that is coming through this platform, not only through me, but through everything that we share, it is really necessary. It's really important. It is really important. So, two things that Africa missed: misinformation, miseducation. And I think we are in a mission to correct that. And that's why right now, my mission of renaming all the heritages of Africa, right now we are renaming Victoria Falls to Mosi or Atunya Falls. I will come here, guys, to share with you the experience of Victoria Falls. I went there. I was there yesterday. Oh my God. I've never felt anything like that in my entire life. I'm 31 years of age, but I never felt anything like that. The videos that I've already uploaded here are available for members. Oh my God. Those videos, I did not even edit. I did not even put music in the back, just the pure video. You can see. And the first one has like 33 minutes, and another one, I think it has like 20 something minutes. Oh, gonna share. When you look at it, you see the reality of what was happening from the beginning of journey to the end. Walking around that, Victoria Falls, because we went to Zimbabwe yesterday. I went all the way to Zimbabwe, guys, looking at the border of Zambia and Zimbabwe. I was jumping, on the Zambia and Zimbabwe border, jumping. You guys watch that video. That video is already available here, the first episode. It is crazy. And I went all the way down to the waterfalls, and we had to come back. It's a little bit hard to climb all the way to the top. And how long this Victoria Falls is, it's incredible. I've never seen anything like that in my entire life. I looked at that and I made a decision that I will visit all the wonders of the world in Africa. I will go everywhere. It's like never before. Never felt like that in my entire life. Never. Like, when it comes to things, never. I can't compare. So this is what we have in Africa. And one thing that I would say, when I was there as well, I felt God. Because when you're in the nature, you can you're very close to God, because these are things that God himself, this was not man-made. It was God himself created it and put it there. And I could feel it, that man. Like, you're looking at the wonder. I'm like, oh my God. You can see the picture, actually, the thumbnail of the picture. You can see it. Like, it's, anyways, but I can't talk about that experience and everything. I'm still processing. But all in all, rest in power, John Pombe Magufuli. I'm not even sad anymore. Yes, processing it is very difficult, but what he left, it's like, sometimes you feel like you say, man, this man, he proved something very different. Because if he stayed for 20 years, it'd be like he stayed for a very long time and he did it. No, 5 years in the country that has more than 60 million people, one of the biggest country in Africa. He did that in 5 years. What does that tell you? It is possible. If it did it in the country, we can do this with this community. We can do that in Africa. So we appreciate his life, and we thank God for bringing someone like that to show us the way, show us how things are need to be done. Because for me, like, he was direct my mentor. And as my brother said here, that after he was gone, I felt that urgency. And I was like, oh, this stick, I could feel like the stick has been passing on to me. I never met him, never shook his hand. I was never in Tanzania when he was a leader, but I felt it receiving that, and I left and I was like, okay, we got to do this. We have to do this. And so, yeah, in a way, I'm his son, in what we're doing, because this mission, it was born after, when he was in the regime and after he was gone. So, yeah. Anyways, I'll thank God. God, we thank you for today, for giving us this opportunity to talk, to share about this great life that it was once lived here in the continent and in this world. Let this be a motivation to the rest of us. As long as we are alive, we still have something that we need to do for our families, for ourselves, for our communities, for our countries, and for our continent. Let us not sleep, but stay awake, knowing our purpose and what we are called to do for the benefit of our people. Let us not hesitate. Let fear go out of our hearts and dedicate our lives. Dedicate the final moments we have left in serving our people. Just like Christ, you came not to be saved, but to save. And he gave your life as a ransom for many. God, we're not giving our lives. We only give our lives to you to fulfill the purpose and the call that you placed in our hearts. So give us strength, give us courage. Help us to overcome all the obstacles that we're facing. Strengthen us. Give us faith, resilient. Help us to be patient. Help us to walk with you, to depend fully in you. To fulfill the mission you have called us to. So I thank you. I bless you. In your precious name, Christ, I pray. Amen, amen, and amen. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, I want to appreciate for everybody who came here today. Appreciate the team that came here today. Appreciate everybody who joined. Special thanks to X, people from the X. I don't know what is happening, but a lot of people are joining from Twitter. A lot of people are joining there. So I want to appreciate you guys. 121 people watching right now. So I want to appreciate you guys for being there. People here on YouTube as well. I want to appreciate you guys for coming here on TikTok as well. And I appreciate you guys for being there. Our guest today, my brother, I want to appreciate you for coming here today and share your knowledge. Kanyatare, I appreciate for everything. I want to appreciate for the super chats that I received from Nana and my sister Nana and BJ. I appreciate you guys so very much. For those who liked, share, and comment, you guys, you rock. All right. I love you here right now. It's already midnight where I am, and but don't forget to share this this video. Some people. And there's one video that will release tomorrow. It is my open letter to PLO Lumumba. I'm going to release a video that we have already prepared, my open letter to PLO Lumumba. We're going to release that tomorrow. And I want you guys to watch that video. And I know it is your heart, because I know what kind of community I have here. So this is an open letter to PLO Lumumba. Basically, I did not write, but it's open. Yeah, it's a message straight to him. This is my African dad. What we want as the people of Africa, as Africans, what we want from him. It's a very interesting video. I have his number. I did not even text him yet, but I want to release this video and I'll share this video with him. So this is very interesting video. I think I'm going to work on right now to finish editing, and it needs to be released as soon as possible tomorrow. So support that video and share that video. If I succeed to edit right now and to finish it, then I'll obviously upload, but it will be available for members first. And then tomorrow when we wake up in the evening, it will be available for everybody. Right? Because I gotta keep that promise that I promised members, that if you're a member, will be the first one to see everything that is happening. So if you are part of that, then you'll be the first one to see what we upload. For those videos that they will take some time, you know. So I'm very excited for that. It's what we want Professor Lumumba to do, because we say that we need to hold our people accountable. And I think there's demands that we might need as well, from people that we love, people that we trust, people that we care, people that we look up to, like PLO Lumumba. So yeah, I can't tell it all. I'll just shut up. So I appreciate. God bless you. God bless you. This is really, it's gonna be really. I had really hard time to record this video. I had really hard time to record this video today. I had really hard time asking PLO Lumumba, like you asking him. I had a really not asking, wanting him to do it. I had really hard time, but yeah, you guys will see it. So, anyways, I love you guys. I already prayed. Allow me to leave right now. Okay, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.